Cacio E Pepe. How about you Cacio these nuts? Comedy achieved.
Are you a uni student or an early professional with no real time, money, or skills? You've come to the right goddamn place. Welcome to The Bad Chef. Fast and cheap meals for fast and cheap people.
Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Now, if you haven't noticed already, each episode has a theme. So, for example, episode 5, that's a slow cook. Episode 7 is the vegetarian special. And episode 8, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 8, because today we're going to be tackling a dirty feed. Now, what we do on the dirty feed, right, is that we're going to cook something that's designed to taste as good as possible without even a hint of a consideration for health. Because as healthy as we might eat through the week, it is quintessential to have a cheat day or two every now and then to remind ourselves that we're experiencing everything that the human experience has to offer. So, by going from coast to coast across the world to find the healthiest and unhealthiest foods, you not only increase your repertoire, but also your culinary empathy for everything in between. And plus, the dirty food gives meaning to all the healthy shit that we eat through the week, right? So call it a varied diet. Anyway, today we're going to be making a classic fat and carb combo that's designed to give you the most amount of guilt for the least amount of time and effort. Today we're going to be making a classic Cacio E Pepe.
Cacio e Pepe literally means cheese and pepper. However, it's not just pasta with cheese and pepper on it, but it contains the generosity and goodwill of every Italian who is involved in gifting this to the world.
Now, it's consumed by people of all ages and races across the world, but it's found a particularly loving demographic in hungover people, money-limited people, or hungover and money-limited people, which, if you're an early professional like me, is all of us. So yeah, if you're ready to Cacio these pepes, let's go.
So, what you'll need is pasta, whatever kind, preferably a long one. So I'm going to use this bog standard linguine, some cheese, and salt and pepper. And that's all that there is to it. Some recipes will call for olive oil or butter to help the pepper release the flavor better, but to be honest, it's up to you.
Now, as for the cheese, if we ignore the cries of the purists who want to punch me in the neck for deviating from tradition, I'd say there's a little artistic license that you can take with this. Because if you're hungover and you need a quick feed, the sanctity of tradition would be the last thing on your mind. So if you have any sort of hard cheese that melts, theoretically, it'll do. For me, I tend to always have grana padano and parmigiano inside my fridge, so I just use that. But today, to avoid having an entire country of angry Italians seek a binding resolution against me, I'm going to be using the traditional mix of pecorino romano and also parmigiano reggiano as well. Did I say that right?
Pecorino is a cheese that's made from sheep's milk, and pecorino romano is probably the most aggressive of all the pecorinos. It's sharp and salty with a tangy kick that's characteristic of sheep's milk. Parmesan is made from cow's milk, and the reggiano type is considered to be the one true Parmesan. It's nutty, strong, and sometimes fruity with an assertive but relenting edge from the much softer cow's milk. Both of these melt down very well to form a smooth, creamy, and velvety sauce for your pasta.
Now, get actual Parmigiano Reggiano, because the stuff that comes in a shaker can is basically a cruel prank that smells like old feet and nothing like the real deal. Real Reggiano should smell like God himself and make your brain go all gooey. And the reason why it does that is because it's got casein in it, and caseins trigger casomorphins, and casomorphins trigger literal dopamine releases in your brain. And it's kind of like drugs. It's exactly like drugs. But anyway, that's enough about cheese. Let's get cooking. Now, the quick way of making this is just to grate the cheese, boil the pasta, then bung everything together. But that's kind of like having tea by putting a tea bag in your mouth and then drinking the hot water that comes from a shower head while you're taking a shower. Sure, if you're drunk, but no self-respecting sober person should be doing that. So on the off chance that you want to cook this properly, if you're not hungover, here's what to do.
You'll need one pot for the pasta and a pan for the toasting. First, grate as much cheese as you want into a bowl.
Conventionally, there's 3 parts Parmesan to 1 part pecorino to make a total of 1 cup of cheese, but adjust it to your taste. I like to use 50-50 if I can because it makes it less mellow than a 3-to-1 split. And also I like to use a little bit more than 1 cup of cheese. That might be closer to 3.
After the cheese is grated, boil the pasta in salted water on a rolling boil as per the instructions on the packet, but undercook it by a minute. When the pasta is cooking, grind out your pepper into a hot pan. How much is up to you, but I'd start with half a teaspoon. Then, toast your pepper in the pan on high heat for about 30 seconds. Add half a ladle of pasta water into the pepper and stir. When that's done, add the cheese and another half ladle of pasta water and whisk it until it forms a bit of a sauce. When the pasta is done, take a pair of tongs and plop that wet pasta into the pan with the pepper and cheese in it. Put it back on the hob on low heat, then mix that shit up. You can adjust it by adding pasta water if it's too thick, but if it's all good to serve, twirl it into a bowl, sprinkle a bit more Parmesan on top, then add a little cracked pepper, and you're done.
Oh my god!
Cacio E Pepe. Cacio E Pepe Silva.
Hey man, Cacio these nuts.
These nuts.
Cacio E Pepe.
Cacio E Pepe.
Cacio me if you can.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Cacio E Pepe.
What the fuck? Yeah, nah, it's pretty good. For real, it's so easy to make. You should just try this at home and experience the magic for yourself. I mean, the cheese, right? It straight up goes into your brain and fingers your dopamine center's G-spot, which is basically how drugs work, but a good block of Parmi Reggie is cheaper, less destructive, and far less illegal. So don't do drugs, kids, do cheese. Speaking of cheaper than drugs, the cost of this dish, you know what, I will say this, it's cheap in the most expensive way possible. So the pasta is about 50 cents for a serving, like a large serving. The salt and pepper is basically negligible, but the real cost is the cheese. Because pecorino is about 35 bucks a kilo, Parmesan is about $69 per kilo. So if you're looking to buy 200 grams each of the proper stuff cut from a wheel, you're looking at around $20 in just cheese alone. But you don't actually need that much cheese per serving. I mean, with 400 grams of cheese in total, you should be able to get about 5 or 6 cups of grated cheese, which is good for about 5 to 6 servings in total. Unless you're an absolute slut for cheese, at which 400 grams of cheese is 1 serving that costs you $20. But say you're a normal human being, this bowl of pasta should cost you about $4.50, which considering the price of the other stuff we cook, granted, it's middling, but come on, treat yourself a little. This is the first step of living a better life. Instead of home brand, you're shopping for name brand things now. Instead of goon, you're drinking wine that comes from a bottle. And instead of mac and cheese, you're having a classic, elegant, refined Italian dish. And as a subtle sign that you're a real adult who knows what they're doing, $4.50 is a very small price to pay for that sort of recognition, I reckon. Anyway, this was Cacio E Pepe. Done. So if you're a bit eagle-eyed, you would have seen this. And yeah, I donated blood today and they informed me that you lose about 3 grams of salt every time you donate. So donating is a really good excuse to eat something salty that you've been craving for a long time, like Cacio E Pepe. But yeah, all jokes aside, please donate blood. Each bag saves 3 people. They only last 42 days, each bag in storage. So we kind of need a constant supply, so every donation really counts. But yeah, donate blood, that's my PSA.
Sweet, tender, loving, groovy thing. She don't want no